Hello. This is the second part of the Dell Latitude E7440 guide to making it a Hackintosh. In the first video, we made the USB using Hackintosh Zone to make the USB to put macOS High Sierra on the USB that we will now be using on the Dell Latitude E7440. So make sure this is the correct laptop that you have. It should be the same. Make sure it's charged up. Make sure it's connected to a power plug. I'm going to give you a second to do that. Make sure everything's okay. Okay, we're going to get started. So the first step that we're going to do is that we're going to go to the computer's power key over here. We're going to press that, and immediately after pressing that, you're going to hold F12 down. So press that power key and hold F12. So keep on clicking on F12, and you'll see it comes up. Then you can let go. Yellow. So here we are brought to the options. You should verify that it says UEFI. Boot mode is set to UEFI, and secure boot is off. Then we're going to go down to BIOS setup. This is going to bring us to the computer BIOS. So what you're going to do is going to use your keys to go down. Make sure it's on it. Go down. Make sure this is set to UE. When we go down the boot sequence, make sure this is on UEFI. If it's already, leave it alone. Once you get to these new options down here, just press the enter key. Once you get to system configuration, go down. Make sure everything is looking like what I have. If it's not, it's okay. Parallel port is to AT. Serial port is to COM1. Feel free to pause the video for each one. SATA, this is really important. SATA needs to be set to AHCI. On SATA operation, it needs to be set to AHCI or the macOS is not going to boot. Make sure your SATA is set to AHCI. That is the only way Mac can boot. It's the only way it'll be able to read the USB. So keep on going down. This other stuff is not important. That's why I'm skipping through it. Video, not important. Security, not important. Go down to secure boot and press enter. Secure boot. Secure boot has to be disabled. Secure boot does not work in Mac. We want secure boot to be disabled. So the first step is we went to SATA, and we want to make sure that SATA is set to AHCI, serial port COM1, and parallel port AT. When we go to boot sequence, make sure that it's set to UEFI. Don't worry about the other stuff up there. Just make sure your boot list is set to UEFI. Mac does not boot in legacy. UEFI. Then you're going to come down to virtualization support. That's at the bottom. Click enter. Go down to virtualization. We want this box to be checked off. We want virtualization to be checked off. That's going to allow us to run. Enable VT. We want that to be checked off too. And we don't want trusted execution to be checked off. So I'm going to go over it again from the top to make sure we have everything we need in terms of Mac. So when we come in, we started at General. You're going to go down to boot sequence, and we're only looking at this part. Make sure boot list option is set to UEFI. Now we're going to use our arrow key to go down. You're going to go down to parallel port. Make sure it's set to AT. Then serial, COM1, SATA, AHCI, because Mac only runs in AHCI. Then we're going to go down to secure boot, which is going to be like this. I'm going to press enter. Then I'm going to go down. Make sure secure boot is disabled. Next, we're going to go down to virtualization support, and we're going to press enter. We're going to go down to virtualization and make sure it's enabled, and we're going to make sure VT Direct is enabled. Okay? So after that, we're going to press exit, and everything will save. Now you're going to hit F12. Again, it's going to reboot. Make sure you're holding the F12 key down. This time, we want to go down to UEFI boot. And you want to go to your USB. It will say the name of your USB. So mine, I have a PNY USB 2.0, but yours may say SanDisk. You want to go to the UEFI boot and go to SanDisk USB, not your hard drive or the other one. It's usually the last option or whatever the name of your USB is. And you're going to click enter. And it's going to bring up another screen. Feel free to pause the video whenever you need or to go back to make sure everything is good. So here, it's going to bring us up to this beautiful screen. We're going to click the first option usually, but make sure it says boot Mac OS from Hackintosh High Sierra Installer. It should be the option with the installer, the first one. It should say this exactly. And once, make sure the box is around it. You see, make sure the box is around the first option. Boot Mac OS from High Sierra Zone Installer. The installer one. Press enter. And it's going to do its magic. And it's going to bring us up to the next screen. So give it a minute and be patient while it's working on this. You're going to see a whole bunch of text. Looks a little bit like hacking, but it's okay. Might take a minute. It's the computer reading the USB and trying to put Mac on this. It should be booting up. During this time, wait till you see the next screen. And then you're going to make sure that you have your USB mouse. You have to have your USB mouse or you're not going to be able to use the touchpad in this step because the Mac is not able to read the touchpad until after the installation. So here you're going to need your USB mouse. So see, we have the Apple logo. It's loading up. Give it a minute to do its magic. At this time, make sure you're getting your USB mouse plugged in. You make sure you put your USB mouse plugged in and have it next to you. I'm going to give this a minute to load up. So here I have my USB mouse. Make sure it's a USB. I have the USB dongle plugged inside of the laptop. So you should have two USBs. The one with the installer, mine is over here. And then in the back, I have my USB mouse. I have to use my USB mouse just for the time being until we're done with the installation, because we have to install something to make the trackpad work. So I'm using my USB mouse here. I'm going to be using my USB mouse, not the trackpad. The trackpad will not work until after the installation. So here's the screen. You're going to choose your language, which for most of you will be English. Highlight English. It should be in blue. Then go down and press the arrow. It's important to make sure you follow these steps to get the Mac working. So here we have Hackintosh High Sierra. To set up the installer, click Continue. We're not clicking Continue yet. Click Continue. You'll see this comes up. Go to Utilities. Click Disk Utility. Then we're going under Internal. Your hard drive should show up here. It's not going to be named TC. It's going to be named something else. It's fine. Click Erase. Now you're going to press the back key and name it something new. Whatever you want to name it. Me, I'm going to name it HZ. Make sure the format is Mac OS Extended Journal. Nothing else. Mac OS Extended Journal. And click Erase. Give it a minute to erase. Process is done. It's really quick. Click Done. And you're going to exit out. So just in case you didn't catch that, you're going to go to the Internal. You're going to click Erase. You're going to type a new name, Mac OS Extended Journal, and click Erase. I already did it one time, so I'm going to cancel. X out of there with the red. And now we're going to go to Continue. We have to erase the hard drive. You can read this if you want. It's not really important. Click Continue again and click Agree. So here is a very important process and steps to installing Mac. So pay full attention, and I'm going to make sure to say everything slow and steady. So we're going to click on whatever the hard drive you named it, not the installer, the hard drive. And it'll have a picture of the hard drive with whatever you named it. I named mine HZ, so that's why it says HZ. It'll be whatever you named it, and you can see the symbol of a hard drive, not the installer. The hard drive should be highlighted, or you will not be able to install. After we highlight it, click Customize. You have to pay very close attention here. So here, using my mouse, I'm going to click on a little arrow here next to Hackintosh Zone. Then I'm going to click the arrow next to High Sierra Zone. It's going to bring up a whole bunch of options. I need you to pay attention. So, the first thing we're going to go to is Bootloader. We're going to click the arrow next to Clover. And make sure it's on Clover UEFI. A blue check should be near Clover UEFI. Then you're going to click the arrow near Bootloader, and it's going to disappear. That part is good. Next, go to Kex. Make sure Fake SMC is checked off with blue. Now we're going to check off Wi-Fi and Ethernet. And then next to audio, I want you to click the arrow next to audio. And I want you to only choose Voodoo HDA, not Apple ALC. Only Voodoo HDA. Then we're going to come up and click the arrow next to Kex. It's going to disappear. Next, we're going to go to bootloader flags. Let me check. Make sure everything is good there. We're not going to touch that. Then we're going to go to chipset. Let me make sure everything is good with that. We're not going to touch anything there. Then you're going to go to laptop drivers. Just make sure you check that off blue. You don't have to go down. Just check that off blue. Next, we're going to go to High Sierra USB fixes. Make sure USB inject all.kex is checked, not generic. The USB inject all is checked. If it's already checked, just leave it alone. Click the arrow next to High Sierra USB fixes and it'll disappear. Next, we're going to click on Fake PC IID and plugins, and nothing should be checked there, okay? Then you're going to click on the arrow next to it for it to disappear. And we're going to click Accept. Actually, no. Don't click Accept. I've missed one step. Go to Graphics and uncheck Backup Graphic Kex. Make sure under Graphics, there's nothing checked. Now we click Accept. And we click Continue. It's going to take about 13 minutes, but actually, it'll be more like 15 to 20 minutes. So, sit back and relax, and then we'll move on to the next process in the video once it's done.